Okay, moving on to the next segment of today's show. I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the teams we got into on the Stock Watch episode of the show, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's funny, Andrew, because going into the season, I actually predicted the Pittsburgh Steelers not only to win the AFC North, but I actually predicted them to come out of the AFC and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl because I thought their defense had the ability to get to Patrick Mahomes, and obviously things have changed. Their defense is still really good, but it's not healthy. Devin Bush and Bud Dupree obviously out for the season, and their offense has really struggled as of late. And it's one thing to lose to the Washington football team. That defense is really good. We all know that. It's one thing to lose to the Buffalo Bills. They're one of the best offenses in the NFL. But now I think it's appropriate for Steeler fans to get concerned after they lose on Monday Night Football to the Cincinnati Bengals with Ryan Finley at quarterback. That's obviously a really concerning loss. And this is one of the biggest games on Sunday that we're going to be talking about. The Indianapolis Colts, a team that I just mentioned, I am buying stock in. They're going to be going to Heinz Field, facing off against a team Andrew was selling stock in, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, Andrew, I'm going to ask you, without giving your pick away, on Monday, what is the main narrative for the Steelers going into Monday? Do you think their fans are going to be feeling good, feeling bad? What is the storyline in Pittsburgh on Monday?
Well, I think it's going to be an uncertain feeling for Pittsburgh fans because I feel like you're not going to know what team's going to show up this Sunday. The Colts are a really good team, and they are surprisingly good and underrated. And this might be another game where the Steelers might end up, making a few mistakes and, letting the not being able to score on offense and the defense being a little, cracked because they're missing big playmakers. And, it's a feeling of uncertainty because you don't know how this team's going to show up. And if they lose this game, it places a lot more pressure on the final game in the season against the Browns, which will probably be a divisional showdown for the division winner. So this team's trending in the wrong way, and it's a little concerning, like you said. And, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be even more, drama.
Well, let me ask you this, dude. So when you look at the Steelers and the trajectory of their season and the way it's gone so far, we all know that they started their season 11-0. And I was a believer, and I said, look, man, I understand they're winning close games, and they don't pass the eye test necessarily each and every week. But at the same time, I also said that it is really hard to win in this league. And when you're going 11-0, you're a legitimately good football team. And I do think that even after the loss to the Bengals, there are going to be people that just say, all right, I'm absolutely out on the Steelers. There's no way they're ever going to win a playoff game, let alone another two. But at the same time, I still think they're right in the mix, man. I still cannot quit this defense. I know Big Ben has been awful as of late. I get it. But I don't know. I still think that when you have an experienced Hall of Fame quarterback and when you have a defense like Pittsburgh, they could possibly still do some damage, but at the same time, it's not looking very good for them right now. And another thing I wanted to get into is this, man. I have said for years that Mike Tomlin is an overrated coach, and I've gotten a lot of hate for that. I've gotten a lot of criticism for that, but I stand by that, man, because here's the thing. Is Mike Tomlin a very good coach in this league? Yes. Is it super impressive that since he's been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've never had a losing season? I totally understand. That is super impressive. And I'm not saying that he should be a coach that gets fired or anything. I just said he's overrated in the sense that every year the Steelers have 4 or 5 games where they just don't come ready to play. And we saw that against the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw that against the Dallas Cowboys, against Garrett Gilbert. They should have lost that game. We saw that against Baltimore and RG3 and their practice squad. That was a game that they did not necessarily deserve to win. And I understand Pittsburgh has had some really impressive wins earlier in the season. They went to Tennessee and won. They went to Baltimore when Lamar Jackson played and won. And at the same time, though, they haven't looked good over their last couple games. And I think this Colt game is going to be so big because if they win, it's an opportunity to right the ship. It's an opportunity to show the rest of the league, okay, we're right back in this mix. But if they lose and Cleveland beats the Jets like we all assume they will, that game, Week 17, could very well be for the division title.
Yeah, and it's looking like it's going to lead to that because the Steelers, they have a lot of concerns and their past games this season, although they were winning a bunch of them, all of them in the beginning, there was a lot of close games like you talked about the Cowboys. They also against they lost to the Washington football team, and they they had close games with the Titans. I think that they are, a team that's really overrated, and I think that, it's really concerning what's going to happen right now. And, this Colts game, I think it's going to go the wrong way. And I think the locker room drama with Juju Smith-Schuster and, the TikToks are just giving extra fuel, and they got to, sort those things out,
Okay, dude, so here's my thing, right? I said after the Bills game, bro, you can't be doing that. And I understand, why everyone's going nuts about it. But at the same time, dude, I do think the narrative is kind of being overblown. He's been doing that every game the whole season. And now the media makes it a narrative just because the Steelers start losing games. You know how it is, man. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. But at the same time, I get it. Maybe it does add motivation for other teams. And the good news is the Steelers are at home this week, so we won't have to deal with it this week. But I'm telling you, man, if Mike Tomlin is as good of a coach as everyone tells me he is, I want to see this offense make adjustments. It's not like the talent isn't there. Big Ben was really good for the first 10 games of the season, bro. I'm not denying that. He, I think, was in the MVP conversation. You look at the running game. It still hasn't really been able to get going, but Benny Snell actually had a good game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Hopefully James Conner will be healthy and will be ready to play against the Colts. James Washington is a big play threat. You have Juju. You have Deontay Johnson, who finally looked like he was able to catch the ball against the Bengals. The main concern that I have for the Steelers in this game, dude, is their offensive line. They got wrecked by the Bengals. Villanueva, that was probably the worst game I've ever seen him play. Pouncey looks old. DeCastro looks old. That is my main concern for the Steelers, especially when you have a quarterback that is not mobile like Big Ben.
Yeah. I mean, Big Ben is definitely not a mobile quarterback, and he relies on the offensive line to play really good at a high level. And looking at this Sunday, you're gonna have two big guys on the offensive line, the defensive line, in Justin Houston and Armstead, that are just gonna be making plays, and I think they're gonna expose this offensive line even more. And Big Ben's old, man. He can't take too many hits, so if he can't get out, there's no lanes, and the pocket collapses quickly, he's in trouble. And these next two games are going to maybe expose that. We'll see.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be one of the more fascinating games to look for this Sunday. So, dude, let me ask you this, man. It seems to me that you're not very high on the Steelers. So right now, do you think the Browns are winning this division?
I really do think that because, I think that the Browns are going to, win against the Jets. I hope so. And I think it's going to come down to this game on, the 3rd of the new year. And I think the Browns are going to be riding this momentum wave, and they're going to be a really hot team, and I think they're going to just plow through the Steelers. They're so diverse. They have a great running game, a great offensive line, and Baker Mayfield thrives in the play action.
He's been impressive, man.
He has been.
It's been really fun to watch. In college, I was a big Baker Mayfield fan. I love the moxie, and I understand why last year he rubbed people the wrong way with how much he talked. But I think his attitude since last season ended has been really good, and it gives you a lot of hope for this Browns team. Kevin Stefanski. I don't know about you, dude, but when I am debating who I would vote for Coach of the Year, the two names that come to mind are Kevin Stefanski and Ron Rivera. Those are the two coaches that come to mind for me because Kevin Stefanski, it's so hard to win in Cleveland. How many coaches and how many quarterbacks have we seen since we started watching football do just go there and rot? And that's just a place coaches go to die. And Cleveland is very talented, but they really were able to fix their offensive line very nicely, bringing in Wills and Conklin, Wyatt Teller as well. And their defense isn't ideal. I get it. They need to improve if they want to play better. But their next two games, it's not like their offense, the offenses they're posing, it's not like they're that good. They also played well against the Giants. I understand Colt McCoy wasn't anything special. But at the same time, maybe Cleveland and their defense could build with that momentum going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a dangerous team. And this is not the same Browns team we're used to seeing. I think that they can win against any team at any time because they have two elite edge rushers in Olivier Vernon and Myles Garrett, and those guys could just take over games.
Denzel Ward is back healthy as well in the secondary. He's phenomenal. He's playing at almost a Revis type level.
Yeah, him and Greedy Williams and
he's hurt actually. Greedy's done. They
well, that's a big.
They have a linebacker Taki. I don't know if you're familiar with him,
yeah.
But he could really play.
Oh, he plays at cornerback.
At linebacker, yeah. At corner, they're all right. They got some guys. Terrence Mitchell, former Packer, he's all right.
Yeah.
But anyway, dude, that's interesting that you're picking Dude, it's interesting, man. This Colt game is gonna tell me a lot, and dude, honestly, the way I look at it right now, there's no reason to think that you shouldn't be right. You know, right now, let's look at live odds for who is winning the NFC North. If you were to guess, dude, who do you think is favored to win the North? The Browns or the Steelers?
I'm taking the Steelers.
You think they're favored?
I think they are because I think they have a game lead or?
Yeah, so they have the game lead, but if the scenario works out the way you think, Cleveland is going to win the division, which is very possible.
Yeah. Let's see. They have.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now as well.
Yeah, so the Steelers have a chance, a 73% chance. The Steelers, wow.
So right now, it's interesting. In Vegas, the Steelers are minus 400 and the Browns are plus 275. That is very interesting. So, in other words, if you wanted to win $100 on the Steelers to win the AFC North, you'd have to risk $400. But if you wanted the Browns to win the AFC North and you wanted to risk $100, it would be $275. So Vegas likes the Steelers. I think that's a good value bet if you want to bet on the Browns right now to win the AFC North.
Yeah, wow, that is. I think so too because I mean they have one last matchup, so it could really be a toss up, honestly, at that point.
Do you put any value in the fact that in week number 6 they played in Pittsburgh and the Steelers won 38-7?
Yeah, I mean I wouldn't put too much because the Browns had a slow start to the season, and I mean it seems that they're hitting their stride right now, and at the same time they've been just really explosive on offense and now the Steelers have a few injuries, Bud Dupree and the middle linebacker. I think that they could be a little exposed a little bit. So, I mean, I don't put too much stock into that. Do you?
It's interesting, man, because I feel like Big Ben, bro, he thrives against the Browns. He has more wins in Cleveland Stadium than any other quarterback in the history of football. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. It's going to be such a fascinating and contrasting style of matchups. But before we move on to the next segment, any other points to add?
Well, I just think that one big thing as well for Week 17 is that the Browns have home field event. They're going to be at home.
And there are fans.
And there's going to be fans, so that might be a factor because, I mean, you know how excited Browns fans are. So just watch out for that as well.
All right, so we'll be moving on to the next segment.